Okay. I always give it a second because it might cut off.
Yeah. There's like a thing called the millennial pause.
Really?
Yeah, like my cousin told me about it, and then I started noticing a lot of older millennials, when they're filming videos on their story or whatever, you'll notice like they'll pause for a second before they start talking. It's funny.
It is. I don't know which apps have a delay.
Yeah.
Some of them do. I don't know if Riverside FM does or not, but welcome everyone to another episode of the Rich Sony podcast. Today we got John Cozz on the episode.
Hello.
Say hi to everyone, Jaws. Jaws.
Whoever's listening, it's John Cozz.
Anyone ever call you Jaws? I don't know.
Zoc, Con. No, I don't think Jaws. Maybe Jaws. Jazzarelli.
I didn't do that on purpose, but
Yeah.
This has been I've wanted to have you on here for a while, actually.
Yeah.
And,
I gave you the runaround.
Oh, that's okay. That's total. That scheduling type of stuff happens with every episode. It's like everybody is always very apologetic, but it's I'm used to it. But even before that, right? So Harrison, our mutual friend Harrison Beath, had brought you up on several of his episodes that he did.
Yeah, how many? He did 2 or 3.
He did like 5.
Oh, really?
Harrison.
Yeah, Harrison's awesome.
Yeah, he's an OG for sure. I met him back in the day at the open mic nights, and when I started the podcast, I knew he'd be a great guest to have.
Which one? Did you go to the Ridgewood one?
I went to the one at the Fine Grind in Middle Fall.
I forgot how I met him, but I'm like not really in the podcast, the open mic scene very much, but when my cousin moved back from Boston, he was he liked open mics, and he was trying to go to one for a while. So I was like, I gotta work Harrison's Instagram and figure out where these open mics are happening at. And we went to the one at Ridgewood Coffee Shop, and it was funny because they're very adamant about. I think Andrew Nienport was running it. Maybe still does, but they were very adamant about no covers that weren't in public domain. I was like, is this like a thing that happens at most open mics?
Yeah, they're really strict about it. They got like a letter from BMI or something.
That's so crazy.
It's insane. And then they moved. So that is the Fine Grind one now, but back in the day they were separate.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they moved.
Because, Ridgewood Coffee Company itself moved, I think.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think they moved, and they have a roasting company that they work, or they it's like weird because they have a roasting company, but it's not called Ridgewood Coffee. It's called something else, but I forget what the name of it is. But yeah, I'm pretty sure like in the last month or 2 they just renovated the space and moved, which is crazy because I feel like that was like one of the first coffee shops that I was like, coffee's cool.
Hell yeah. I only have been there a few times, but I'm good buddies with Andrew and Harrison.
Yeah.
So I've heard of the legend of RCC, and I went a few times, and it is pretty freaking cool. Like when I went, they had like the cold brew percolator going in the window.
Oh yeah, the I forget what those are called.
Yeah, I don't know what it is either.
Yeah, I think it's a Japanese thing.
You do coffee, right? So we should probably let guests know in case they're unfamiliar.
Yeah. So I run a coffee roasting / mobile cafe. So I do farmers markets. I run an online store for the roasted coffee. So I like ship it everywhere. I do farmers markets, events, and all that kind of stuff.
How long have you been doing that?
I've been working in coffee for like 15 years almost. I think no, not 15 years because I'm 30. More, I think
12 or something.
Yeah, 12 years. But I've been doing Cozz Coffee. It'll be 4 years in August.
Nice.
which is cool. It was kind of like a COVID thing that I just kept going for, and it's continued to keep going.
That's sick. I'm a big coffee fan myself. I wouldn't say I'm an aficionado.
That's okay.
Because, like,
I think all coffee consumption is valid.
Right? Like, I feel like I might be sometimes I feel like I'm a little more hardcore than some of the aficionados, because, like, if you have to have, like, a 7-Eleven coffee or something, like, you just gotta freaking get it.
Oh, I'm a skateboarder, so I'm out and about all day long, and sometimes it's hard to find places to get, like, a good cup of coffee or a nice espresso. So we usually, I'm not gonna, like, force my friends into like fine combing for a nice coffee shop. So yeah, we get Dunkin' Donuts like every weekend, and I've always grew up drinking that, and I think there's always going to be that's the thing about coffee or food in general. Like, as much as there's like good versions of it, there's like the bad versions that are also good for what they are, like whether it be like a Baconator versus like a smash burger, not
or Pizza Hut.
Like Domino's, I'm a fan of as Domino's, but not like I'm not like, oh, I'm craving pizza, let's get Domino's. I'm like, I'm craving Domino's, let's get Domino's.
Hell yeah. I think that's as a fellow New Jerseyan, right? Like, that's a pretty hot debate that comes up, at least amongst my friends. I have some friends that won't even eat any Domino's or Pizza Hut, but I'm like, nah, there's a place for it. I crave that stuff for sure.
It's stupid to act like there isn't a time and a place for anything, really. I mean,
how long have you been skating?
That is more. 19 years. I did the math the other day because I was listening to some DMX song, and he's like, I've been doing this for 19 years, and I was like, I wonder if I've been skating for 19 years, and it will be in December. So,
that would be a cool. I hope I'm not like spoiling anything, but like that would be a cool skate video to have that song
DMX,
as the song.
Yeah. That would be funny.
What was your first board?
Oh, I don't know. Maybe an Element. It's funny. I feel like a lot of people like really like vividly remember it. I don't know. I either got like a World Industries board from Sports Authority or like some sort of Element. I think it was like an Element like Rastafarian board.
Nice.
But I don't really remember. I don't know.
I had an Element. I remember I got it. My dad got it for his 40th birthday. So that's how I specifically remember it. Yeah, he didn't skateboard. Somebody just bought it as like a 40th birthday gift, and I was like,
present.
Ooh. It is. He never rode it once, but I immediately took it and loved skating. I probably would still be skating, except it wasn't very good, and I kept like rolling my ankle all the time, and I got surgery on it.
Yeah.
I got cut off by my parents, and then I just like never got back into it too much, but I still love it. I mean, I probably skated for 7 years, something like that.
Oh, really? You had to get surgery from skating?
Yeah.
Oh, damn.
I would roll my ankle all the time, and like, they tell you to be off it for 4 months, and I'd be like riding Switch after like a month.
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
I broke my foot a lot when I was a kid, and my dad's a podiatrist. He would be, tell me however long I can't skate for, and I would just like fight the pain, like just like being so young and like wanting to just be outside. I would just try to skate with a broken foot, and then our neighbors called him and told him that I was outside skating, and then I was like, fucking snitches. So I started skating in the kitchen, like jumping off of like countertops and stuff. But they're like, we had like a marble floor, so I cracked the marble and like put a video of it on my YouTube channel, thinking that my parents wouldn't see it, and like they probably checked it daily or something, because it was like that same day they were like, "What the fuck is this?"
Man, I love that, and I love that you still skate. I think that's cool.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty locked in for life. It's definitely a huge part of me. Today was like my first. I wasn't even a day off, but my first day in like a month that I was trying to not work at the garage. So I was like, I'm going out skating, and yeah, I'm like really sore right now because it's like 95 degrees, and I was just trying something like a high effort kind of situation where I was basically sprinting for an hour straight, just jumping onto my front leg. So that starts to hurt when you get to 30.
Yeah, I can imagine. It's so freaking addicting, though. It's so fun.
I just like filming video parts and stuff. I always tell like music people, like filming a video part is kind of like making an album, and each clip is like a song of sorts. So I just like working on projects. So I've been filming a bunch.
Did the Tony Hawk games have an influence on you as a kid?
No, I never got into them really, which is another funny thing. I feel like a lot of people who get into skateboarding got into it because of Tony Hawk, but I never really played video games growing up. I mean, I did, but like I wasn't like come home on a Friday night, play video games kind of person. I was mostly just like outside from when I woke up to like sleep, and then sneak out and just like walk around some more, just not even doing anything bad, just restless and just wanting to like see what was going on. But
fucking living, man. I get it.
I got into skating because my friend was skating, and he showed me this video. It was like a local skate shop had made this video that I just saw it and was like, everything about this is cool. Like there was like a Pixies song in there, and I was like, it was like Pixies, Death Cab for Cutie. I was like, oh man, all this stuff is so cool. Like these, like, I don't know. And then that was just kind of what gave me the bug, and I just never stopped.
Hell yeah. I did play the games. I feel like they came out, all that happened at once, right? Like it was like I got that board.
Yeah.
Tony Hawk 1 had come out. But it was weird, like, in my grade in high school, there were, like, 4 of us that skated, and we were good friends. We're still friends now, for the most part. And then the grade below us, there were, like, 50 skaters.
Yeah, that's what,
like, in.
I mean, that's definitely, like, it's come and go in waves. Like, I've heard that about, the mid-90s, I think it got pretty popular when the X Games like first started up, and then like early 2000s kind of like was dead again, and then I think by the mid-2000s when I started skating was kind of when it was having another sort of resurgence, and people started getting now it's like its own, now it's like, you know, so ingrained is the word I was looking for. Ingrained in society. Sure. It's like,
yeah.
I mean, it's its own subculture, and I notice it a lot now. Because when I was a kid skating, people kind of treated you like you're like this like second-rate person, like just yelling at you and just treating you like you're like gonna just break everything in sight. And cops would always arrest us and bring us into the police station and stuff. Like even if like we would be like in a parking lot with a bunch of kids just like who are smoking weed, and we're skating, the cops would like just take us in, and the kids who were just loitering and smoking weed, they tell them to go home. But nowadays, like, skating is so assimilated into society that it's just, I feel like cops are like, they don't really care about it the same way. People on the streets like get way more hyped about it now, and I think people just understand it more as a thing now and realize it's like, oh, this is just a sport or a hobby. I mean, obviously, people still get mad when you're skating on their property or stuff, but that's also understandable.
It definitely is, and I'd imagine as you get older, you start to understand that a little bit more than when you're a kid, too.
Yeah, I mean, I still have some friends who try to, like, yell at people for kicking us out, and if somebody tells me to leave, I'm, like, in my car before, like, you kind of assess the situation, and like I could tell when somebody's like going to tell me to leave, I'll like walking to my car before they even say anything, because I'm like, I don't care.
And it's also at this point now, it's not as in some ways you're lucky that you've aged with it, sort of aging too, because back then it was like, that's how it was when I was skating, and it was raw. You'd get pissed off because it happened everywhere you went, Yeah,
I mean, I definitely had a phase. I mean, fighting with people for kicking us out of shit, and just like fist fights for like, just like, why?
Yeah, but it's also being a kid, and so has and I'm sure that the answer to this is yes, so maybe I'll rephrase it before I even ask it, but like, how has the skating culture influenced your other work, like doing the coffee thing and both your music as well, which we'll get into?
Skating is kind of the world I grew up in, and just seeing how people make videos and skate graphics, like boards and t-shirts and stuff, that kind of, like, learning about that kind of taught me a lot about computer programs and kind of what it means to build a brand. So I feel like for me, in terms of like starting a business and trying to operate a business, I've kind of looked at like, okay, what is it about skateboarding that's always enticed me? Like as a consumer, what do I like? And I feel like I learned a lot about branding through just being aware of skateboarding, but also skateboarding kind of has that same DIY attitude, or just like wing it attitude that punk rock music does. So those two things kind of just go hand in hand. And I mean, that's all it is. It's just like trying stuff, thinking outside of the box to just figure out a way to make something interesting. Is how skateboarding has shaped me.
Sure. It's definitely all of that for me too. Even though I don't skate anymore, it was a huge influence on me on everything. And I totally agree. I think it also has taught me that there's like sometimes you don't always have to make your profit or your business model off of the thing that you actually really care about, right? Like if you think of something like independent, right? Like they make fucking, well, whatever, however you feel about their trucks, but they make trucks that some people really like.
Yeah.
Right? But they probably made most of their money off people wearing their merch, right? And building that brand, which is always been interesting to me because it's not just independent, right? We could sit here and list off every single skateboard company.
Creating a brand is like creating a world, and I think in music, a lot of like people are saying you need to be like world building to like like relate your music to your TikTok posts and yada yada, and like build a whole world, which is essentially what you're doing when you're making a brand. So yeah, it's just a matter of making sure everything is cohesive and everything, even if it's different artists, different message, it's all kind of under the same umbrella.
For sure, man. Like That's exactly it. And I think you've done a pretty good job of it. And just me just like sleuthing on your stuff, right? Like, I loved when I checked out your coffee, and I can tell that like the artwork is of the same, I don't know if you made the art or somebody else did, but it's the same aesthetic as your music, right? So it all kind of has
I've done some of the artwork on the bags, but I try to get friends to do it because I just, one, I think it's cooler to have other people involved, and two, it just opens it up to more people to see it. But yeah, it's funny because even though I'll like, you know, get a bunch of different artists whose styles aren't similar, I've had a lot of people say that the artwork all feels cohesive, even though it's not the same style. And I don't know if that's people just trying to make something that I would be hyped on, or just how it is, but, or, you know, just because it's presented the way it is, that it all feels kind of cohesive. But it is cool to be able to do that and just showcase friends' artwork as well, even if it's just like a simple doodle.
Yeah, totally. And I mean, skateboard companies do that too, right? They have their decks, and coffee has a lot of carryover, I think, with that branding opportunity, right? Because you can do batches, and you can easily.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's kind of what I try to do, is like pull from that same kind of way of thinking of like, okay, let's like do a board release, but with like a bag of coffee, you know.
Sick. Let's change gears. Let's talk about music.
Okay.
Yeah. Dude, the show at let's start at the show that I just saw you at a couple. Okay. I don't know when it was. At
yeah.
What was the name of that place? Williams Center.
Williams Center in Rutherford.
Yeah, that place was cool, by the way. Yeah. I've never been there.
They do like some bigger things sometimes. Like, I know Henry Rollins recently was there.
Shit.
Not in that room, not in the room we played in. There's like I don't know if, did you explore it at all?
I did. Yeah. I saw a couple of the other rooms.
Did you see like the main theater room?
I think I did. It looked pretty big. Like they had like a mixing board in the middle or whatever.
Yeah, so that's where Henry Rollins. Yeah, that's where Henry Rollins performed.
Yeah, so for listeners, this place was an old movie theater that they converted into like I think it was a movie theater, and they converted it into an art center.
I think it's a movie theater and just like a regular theater. Like I'm pretty sure my mom said when I was a kid she used to take me to plays there.
Yeah.
That show. That was
yeah, go.
I was gonna say that was the first time Harrison played with us, and that was cool. Or played with us live.
That was really cool. Yeah. He added a whole layer of pizzazz, but you all, like, you could tell that you guys were frickin' ready to go at that show. And I had just listened to is it an album or EP? I think it's an EP, right, that you just came out with?
Yeah.
Or came out with right around then?
I think it was out by then. I'm pretty sure.
It was out, for sure.
Yeah, okay.
Because I was listening to it, yeah. So you had just come out with that, and
that was... Yeah, that was how we got Harrison in the mix, because one of the songs on that, I was like, oh, we had a guitar solo written for it, and I was like, it kind of feels like a saxophone solo might be cool for this, so we had asked Harrison to come in, and he did saxophone on that. And then I think Max was just like, oh, you know what, this part could like benefit from saxophone as well too. And then we're like, let's just throw saxophone on the whole EP. So Harrison got on the EP, and then I said, you are now a Weller, Harrison. And now it's fun playing with him because he's just crazy. I was like, dude, I told him, I was like, dude, you could play whatever you want during my set. You could do synth, you could do sax, or you could just be my Joe C and just hype people up, you know? So he kind of does everything, which is fun because me and the rest of those guys have been playing together now for I mean, me and Kevin have been playing, the drummer, we've been playing together since I started playing shows, but the rest of us kind of have been a band, I think, for 2.5, 3 years. So, not that it's boring, but we've been playing together for a while, so it's just kind of refreshing to have Harrison be in the mix, and he's just so excited because he's jumping around and like down to be like a rock star, you know, which I personally love because I can't do it because I mean I try, but he's a little more free range, so he could kind of go crazy. So that's always fun.
It is, and he brought the energy level up significantly. Yeah, but like he fits in with you all too. It gave you almost like a. So I did just do an episode with Jeffrey, right? And which is sick. I'm so happy that
cool.
he did that.
I listened. I haven't finished it, but I listened to I think the first 30 minutes of it.
Oh, nice. Did you get to the part where he talks about blowing people's minds?
I think that was right where I stopped listening as I was working or doing deliveries. But I remember you had asked them something like, "Oh, you bring this up a lot, or have brought this up on more than one occasion." But yeah, I can't remember per se.
No, it's okay. But needless to say, the idea that he said of that sticks in my head now, and I think that added such a blowing mind factor of just even having a saxophonist, which is a little more uncommon.
Yeah, I mean that's at this point too. I mean, when I play shows or see bands, it could be hard, admittedly hard to get excited about stuff when it's just a 3 or 4 piece guitars and bass, drums situation. So I think just, I don't know. I think since having him be in the band, people are like, wow, saxophone, that's different. Or you guys sounded awesome tonight. Even though we, I don't know, maybe
it was just a regular show.
Yeah. I feel like the saxophone is just that 5 blend spice,
Yeah,
the 5
it is.
spice blend. The secret
totally
weapon.
Is.
Yeah, Harrison's definitely a secret. And he's kind of the secret weapon for a lot of bands, or has acted as so, which is really cool. But yeah, I mean, you saying he fits in really well. I mean, he's been a part of what me and my friend Max does Domestic Bliss, so he records a lot of the bands in the area, but we run a label called Pizza Bagel Records together, so we kind of like Harrison's definitely a character in the universe. He's appeared on a lot of Lake Effect songs and a lot of stuff.
He recorded all his stuff, I think, not all of it, but 95% with Max, I think.
Yeah,
too. He's talked about that a lot.
Yeah, he records most of his music with Max. I think I know he did one, I don't know if it's just a Bandcamp thing with Daryl from Quality Living. But
that's on he talked about it on the podcast. That's on streaming too. It's the oh man, is it Chicken Noodle Blues? I think it is.
I don't know. Nah, the soup stuff was on one of our Pizza Bagel things. But he records a lot of music with Max, so he's very much in the universe of Pizza Bagel Records.
A Sad Breakfast. You could go back and check that episode the last 2 times ago with Harrison. He talked about that. Yeah, but anyway, so he's talked a lot actually about Pizza Bagel and about Max and you guys running the label, which is cool. You want to give a little spiel about that?
So we were, me and Max, his band Lake Effect, we were both on this other local label, Sniffling Indie Kids, which was awesome. A lot of our friends were on it, and they did a lot of cool stuff. But the one thing they did that we kind of weren't wanting to do was making CDs in the 20s. But they had kind of, the three dudes who ran it kind of took a step away from the music scene and starting families and just getting more serious with their jobs. So it was like, I think, if we had continued to put out music and be like, yo, could you help us with online distribution, they would do it. But it was kind of just like, they weren't as hyped up on it as they were able to be in the past. So we were kind of just like, oh, why don't we just start our own thing to, make a new endeavor. And if anything, it's at the least, it's just something we could put on Spotify as like, this is the distribution for it. Whether it whether it makes it seem a little more legitimate or just to kind of give us a place to like umbrella all of our, create our universe and circling back to before, some world building, a little classic world building. So that was just kind of how it started with my music, Max's solo stuff for Mouch and Lake Effect. And then we reluctantly call it a label because we kind of like to just think of it more as like a content farm, like just do weird stuff. And we've been a little slow. I've been busy working, and he's got the studio. He has a daughter, and as of his son was actually just born today. So
whoa! Congrats, Max.
So he's been busy. We've both been busy, but it just kind of started as like, I'm really good with video editing stuff and Photoshop stuff. So it's like the visual stuff I've always been pretty good at, and he's really good at sound. So we're like, let's put our resources together and try and create like a fun thing. And it's been cool. People like it. I mean, sometimes I wish we could fuck, Charlie horse.
We can cut that out.
No,
just say
funny.
Sometimes I wish. Okay.
I like that. Sometimes I wish we could like put all of our eggs into that basket, but that's an insane thing to do. I know. It wouldn't make any money. DIY indie label in 2024 wouldn't make that much money.
Not at this scale either, And like I've noticed even from having the podcast, right? Like it takes a lot to run like a media platform that's tangential to the actual art, right? Like I don't do my own music as much. I like in COVID it stopped, and I had a son as well, so I kind of took a break on purpose, and then already canceled my shows, and then COVID happened, and then I wanted to do this podcast, so I started. But once you already have all this content, and like it just takes a life of its own. It's hard to like. Yeah,
social media is its own. You have to like think of things as like, okay, well here's this song, but then what can we do for the social media part for the song? Like, do we make a video for this, or like, and it is just its own thing, and it gets really hard to do sometimes, and because you can't just post a picture anymore. You got to make a skit or a video, and then you're like, oh my god, I'm so corny for making this stupid video, or like, how do I do this in a way that isn't corny? But
sure, at least you have I guess that's the point of it, right? Though, is that you have a collective of people that are kind of doing that together, which makes it a little less daunting.
No, it's fun. It's fun, and we, it's fun to have like a group of buddies that we just could do stuff together. And we've done. To me, like the coolest thing we did was we did these 2 compilations, songs about soup and breakfast bops, where we just put out like an open invite to anyone who wanted to participate to write a song about. The first one was about soup, and then the second one was about breakfast. So just write a song about your favorite soup, or write a song about the worst breakfast you ever had. And we released it on CD and Bandcamp, whatever, and donated all the profits to the Community Food Bank of New Jersey. And for both submissions, we got a pretty good amount. I think 20, like definitely 20 something for the first one, and maybe I feel like the second one we had more. I think they were both like 23, 25, but that was a really cool thing to do because we kind of, not that we're like reluctant to put music out for other people, but it's just like I said, like we are reluctant to call it a record label. So not that we're like trying to deny people, but it's just like people have hit us up to be like, yo, would Pizza Bagel be down to put out my album? And we're like, well, what are you looking for us to do? If you're looking for us to just put it online, I guess we can do that. But we can't like make all these videos for you just because you've asked us to do it. Or like, we've done like a few like physical runs for people of stuff just because we're like, oh, this seems like it could be a cool thing to do, like help somebody out with making tapes or just like doing the layout for them.
That makes sense, and I think it's good to elaborate on what Pizza Bagel Records is and what it isn't, because Harrison, if anyone has listened to the other ones, he's mentioned it, so it's good to have the clarification. With your own music, so it seems like you've had a band for a while, right? In different iterations.
Yeah, I mean, I've one of like my favorite musicians is Jeff Rosenstock, and he had a band called Bomb the Music Industry, and it was cool because it was just kind of like more of a collective than a band, so whoever could do it would do it, sort of thing. And I wanted to try and do that as well, but I'm admittedly not the best musician, and my songs sometimes, like, the structures don't always make, like, I'll like add an extra measure for no reason or something. Even I'm like, I don't know why I did that. I guess I just wasn't paying attention, and we recorded it that way, so that's how it's gonna be, guys. But yeah, I mean, the first year of playing, that was a weird thing. I went from skating every day and being like a skater to like in my early 20s being like, I'm done with skating, I'm going to become a musician. So I played guitar, but I just started writing songs in my early 20s and was like, let's just go for this. I really like Jeffrey Lewis and Kimya Dawson, and they both had these like really endearing lo-fi recordings that made music seem super accessible. So that was just kind of where I started. And then after a year of doing that and learning how to get booked on DIY shows and being a part of the DIY community, I was like, okay, maybe it's time I start rocking a little harder. And I just got my two friends to play with me. One was Kevin, who still plays with me drums, and my friend Richie. They were kind of the first two guys. But yeah, then it was like, that's when it got crazy, because I just started asking anybody who could play a show with me to play with me. I think I did the list one day. I wonder if I have it still, of everybody who's played with me in my band. 26 people have like been in the band. But yeah, and then naming it too gets annoying and hard, because sometimes I just get billed as my name and people think it's a solo thing, and the band gets upset. And then sometimes we used to change the name of the backing band for every show, because it wasn't always the same lineup. And then even when it was, we would just change it for every show, and then people would get confused by that. And so I recently just decided to try and keep it as John Cozz and the Wellers.
And what are the Wellers? You said it at the show. I forgot.
So we did an EP a few years ago called John Cozz and the Rippers, and a Ripper is a Ruts Hut hot dog.
Hell yeah. I know that.
But the Weller is the lesser known version of the Ripper. It's a well
really?
done. Yeah, it's a well done Ripper. So when we did that EP, Kevin was like, "Oh, when you turn 30, you should rename the band John Cozz and the Wellers." So I did that,
Nice.
and then the next one when I'm 40 will be the Cremators if we're still doing anything.
Is Cremators like really burnt?
Yeah.
No shit. I never knew that.
Yeah, I like the Wellers. They're pretty good. They're like more crispy, bacony. Obviously, Cremator. I think I've only had it once. I wasn't really that into it, but yeah.
In college, I took my roommates who are from Jamaica. I was like, I'm taking you guys to this frickin' place because in Jamaica they eat a lot of hot dogs, or at least these guys did, and they were talking about hot dogs. So I'm like, you guys have to go to Ruts Hut. And we go in and they're like, what the fuck is this place? It's like very dark and dreary. I'm like, trust me.
They liked it, or?
No, they loved it. Yeah. They loved it. But when we went in, they were like, what the fuck is this? Like it's a little dark and dreary and like, it's got a vibe.
I have a friend from Brazil who was like, oh, I always see you posting about Ruts Hut, so I went there. He's like, that shit was ass. He's like, they should call it Bum Hut. Yeah, he's like, they should call that place Bum Hut.
No, that shit is good. I mean, I haven't been there in 10 years, maybe. So I don't know if it still is, but I'd imagine it still is.
They recently just changed the menus to be TV screens, but other than that, yeah. And they added chili dogs finally.
Oh, that's a good upgrade.
Yeah, they used to.
And you got to play at the brewery, right? Go. Wait, before we open that up.
Oh, I was just going to say they used to not let you order a chili dog. You had to get a cup of chili on the side and put it on yourself. But they finally gave in. But yeah, I've played a few shows at the brewery.
At what is it, Ghost Talk?
Ghost Talk, yeah.
That place is good too.
Yeah, I love it.
So how do you, when you're putting together a band, how do you like onboard them to your material? Like, how do you teach them?
I have Ken do it for me.
You do?
I'm not
That's
good
amazing.
at it. I send everyone the songs. Usually I play with people who are a lot better than me. So I just send them the songs and say, figure it out. And for the most part, nothing's like too crazy. If there's like a specific riff or something, I'll send them a video of the riff. Or if it's just like, this chord progression, but everything's kind of straightforward enough that, I don't know. Drums I feel like are easy because you just listen, you kind of just, match the vibe. And then bass can just follow me. But yeah, for the most part, it's actually gone pretty easy. I've played some shows where we haven't even practiced there was one time it was like some weird farmhouse in Pennsylvania, and it was like the middle of the summer, but everyone was dressed up like clowns and stuff, and it was really weird, but we played a set, me and my two friends. None of us had ever, as I'd played drums with Kevin, and my friend Dan was playing bass, but the three of us had never played together until that show. We didn't practice or anything, and it just went fine. I think that's kind of my just general attitude towards music has always just been like, what is the worst that's going to happen? It's bad. I don't care.
Sure.
You know, I've done bad, and people say, "Oh, good job." So what do I care if it's bad? You know. I mean that's the pedal board I have. It's like, I guess, my slogan. Even if it sucks, who cares?
I dig that. Most of the times I've played with people myself, it's been the same way, and I'm very invitational for folks to just fucking play.
Yeah,
like I'm like, you know, it adds an element to that too that sometimes you can't get when you're rehearsing too much, right? Because you can
we practiced last week for the first time in like a month, and we have 2 shows coming up, and we ran through the songs one time, and I was like, we had a practice scheduled for this week. But the next day I was like, I feel like we played everything fine. I don't think we need to practice. Like, who cares? You know, and everyone was like, yeah, who cares?
Do you play mostly your new shit, or do you try to pull stuff from the old? We have definitely updated the set list as new songs come in. I mean, there are new songs that EP we wrote as a group, but there were 2 other songs I put out this last year that I wrote myself, and I think we tried to add them in, but didn't really like it. But definitely try to like keep the set list new as new songs come in. But yeah, there are some like staples. So you all wrote that. I noticed that on the Bandcamp that you put that we all wrote these songs together. Did you write them like in rehearsal, or were those written like right as you were recording?
So with that project, Max had gotten a tape machine, a Tascam 388, and I'd always wanted to record something to tape. Just like I felt like it would. Just be a cool experience to have a little more, up the ante on the recording sessions. So I was supposed to do it during COVID with the Rippers EP, but COVID happened the week we were going to record it, I think, so we didn't do it. And then I had a few other projects I was working on that I didn't think would be good to do in that style. But I think he had gotten it fixed or something, and I was like, okay, I want to try and write, collaborate with these guys. We've been playing for a while together. We're pretty tight. Collaborate with them on some songs and just not play shows for 6 months and just rehearse them so we have them super tight. So when we go in to record them, we're not wasting tape. We're not wasting time. We could just go in and do it. So that was really my first experience writing songs like that, because usually on the records I record everything for the most part except drums. Max always has done the drums, unless it's Kevin, but usually it's Max. And that was a cool experience to like write. I mean, the lyrics and the vibes of all the songs came from me, but Ken and Chris are pretty big like music theory guys, so they definitely help structure the songs a lot.
I really like those songs, by the way. I mean, I like all your songs, but I listened to that
Thank
EP,
you.
I think, more than everything else. I think it has a really good flow to it, too.
Yeah, I'm also just trying, I don't know, as I'm getting older, I just want to like write songs that I feel good about. Like I'm like, oh, I can see myself playing and singing this in 10 years and still feeling this sentiment, instead of like singing a song about a hot dog or singing a song about wanting to die, Like I'm like, I hope I don't want to die in 10 years.
Hell yeah.
Or, I hope I don't want to, I don't know.
I've talked a lot about this with songwriters, and I'm really happy to hear you say that, because I think I'm the only one that, besides you're the first person that said that. Usually everyone's like, I just write it, and I try to, like, you know, I'm trying to not really filter myself too much, but I used to do that, but I actually do now do this exactly what you said. If I have a live set, I'll write it, but I'll throw it out that night usually if I don't feel myself playing it live.
Oh yeah, I've definitely I've been in that situation where some of the songs are like, you know, 3-4 chords for 4 minutes, and it's no chorus, just all verses, and like the whole song is built on the energy of how you're singing or screaming it, and it's hard to fake the funk sometimes. So I'm just like, I don't know. Like, I just want to write some songs that we could just kind of play, and there could definitely be meaning to them. But I'm also just not. I don't know. I don't know if it's necessarily my place to be writing about sad things anymore. I don't really feel that sad, which is great, and I don't really know I have all that much to complain about, which is also a good thing. So yeah, I don't know, I try to write like happier songs.
Hell yeah. I do notice I don't think it's like obvious influence at all, but I do notice the Jeffrey Lewis, Kimya Dawson thing, like you mentioned.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, it's definitely noticeable, at least to me. On the last record, I did like a whole kind of. I did this song that was about just like how like listening to music in the shower has kind of always been an escape for me, and I the second half of the song is a medley of what I kind of pinpointed like some of the most influential songs in my life. Like, not necessarily my favorite, but the first song I heard by an artist that kind of dictated my genre preferences for a while. And that's like borrowing, like singing someone else's song in your song is something that Kimya Dawson does a lot, and AJJ, they also do it. But I sing a Kimya Dawson song in that song for a second. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't catch that.
No, I
haven't listened to too much Kimya Dawson, but I listened to a shit ton of Adam Green.
Oh, really?
But I never like got into Kimya Dawson as much.
In my opinion, she's like way cooler. He's fine. I don't mind his solo stuff. I mean, the Moldy Peaches are really cool. But I think she's just, she does a lot of exciting things and just kind of like breaks the mold of what a song is, which is what I like the most about her.
No, I got to go back and listen to her. Like, in high school, I listened to a lot of Moldy Peaches, and then I got into Adam Green. But when I listened to the Libertines around then, that was a huge change for me, and I didn't really explore. I didn't even listen to Jeffrey Lewis after that. I only started listening to him because I have a mutual friend that's in
the band now.
In the band, Mallory. Yeah. And I was like, oh, I know Jeffrey Lewis. I just never had, like, opened that door, so to speak.
Yeah.
Let me go back. And I'm like, damn it, I can't believe I didn't listen to this shit.
Yeah,
I missed out.
Really fun. I don't know. I think they both, anti-folk as a whole has just kind of, like, inspired me to just go for it because it's, there's no limitations of gear or skill, or if you have an idea. That's really the only thing now for me that drives me to write music or create art in general is if you have an idea and you have an impulse to do it because art is impulsive and should be impulsive. And yeah, I mean, not to say, you know, you can't fine tune it, but I think the initial idea should be built off an impulse, you know?
Yeah, I agree. And I don't think that I think there's impulse, and I think that if you're intentionally refining that impulse, sure.
Yeah.
But I get you. Like, there's a rawness to it, like, that, and a freedom to it is just real.
I like a lot of that music because it just seems like it's something that they needed to do, you know? It doesn't seem like, oh, I've been playing guitar for 15 years, so I'm putting this out. It's like, this is how I'm feeling, and I need to just do this because I don't know what's going to happen if I don't. And that, I feel like, is like Daniel Johnston is like the epitome of that.
Yeah, and him too. I've only like listened to maybe 10 songs of his. Yeah, he's a whole thing I got to do.
He could be hard to listen to, especially like, I don't know. I guess the older you get, outsider music and anti-folk stuff can kind of be hard to listen to. But he's fun. And, I mean, as a person, I think a good place to start with him is there's the documentary, The Devil and Daniel Johnston. So that's kind of a cool place to start, I feel like. And then, like, check out some of the music because, you know, you have the story to, like, tie it into it. But, yeah, that's a rabbit hole.
That's what I like to do, though, right? Like, that's why I have this podcast.
Yeah,
like, that's kind of what, you know, like, I like being able to listen to your music and then be able to talk about it. Yeah. So I'm going to do it that way, for sure. But who else has been an influence besides the anti-folk people for you over the years? You talked about in that song. I forget the name of it. I know exactly what song you're talking about.
I think it's just called Shower Song. That's another thing. It's like I don't remember the names of a lot of my songs, or like we call them something different, so I like forget it. But I think it is just called Shower Song. Yeah. But if I remember correctly, the order was Green Day, Modest Mouse, Kimya, Dawson, Elliott Smith, and then Lake Effect, I think.
Cool.
Yeah, something like that. There might be one other band, but yeah, Kimya, Dawson, Green Day, Lake Effect, Elliott Smith, and Modest Mouse.
Yeah, that is. I like that is an interesting thing to point out in that song because that's also a very Jeffrey Lewis thing to do, which I've really appreciated from listening to his music a shit ton in the past couple years. I mean, mind you, like, I don't know if I told him this or not. I should have, but we were pressed for time in the interview. But like when I found out that Mallory was playing in his band, and I had already been an Adam Green fan, I've gone to Sidewalk Cafe and tried to play at the open mic night maybe 4 or 5 times, but it's a lottery. I don't know if you knew that, but you like pick a name out of a hat and you have to wait until like midnight to play.
I've seen the documentary on it, and it's like the open mic goes to like 3 a.m. sometimes.
Yeah, and I was working in the city at the time, so I'd like be, you know, telling my wife I'm going to this open mic night, and then it'd be like 10:30, and I'm like, I gotta get on a train. You know, I gotta get out of here. But I definitely went. I actually played at Sidewalk a couple times too when I was my original. Maybe this is why I didn't get into Jeffrey Lewis and Kimya Dawson as much either, because my original instrument was drums. So I was a drummer until like I played guitar a little bit, but like in bands I was a drummer until like after college. Yeah. So, you know, once I found like Libertines or bands with like good drums, I started to like go down that path. But my friend lived over there on like Avenue D, so we played a couple shows during the week at Sidewalk. So needless to say, I was like, oh, I really want to interview him, but I'm not prepared, so it's going to take me like a while to listen to his music. And I definitely took my time, but it took me like a year and a half probably of listening. And his music, like what I was going to say is the cool thing is I love how he kind of talks about being a music nerd, like a lot.
Oh yeah, no, he's music. Like big on that.
Yeah, and adding a medley of your favorite songs at the end is kind of very Jeffrey Lewis in a way. But again, it's in a different style, but it's not, because he goes like, I get it. I see what you're saying, where it could be quite obvious once you know. But oh man, I had a point in my head. I wanted to change gears to something. Oh yeah, I bought the VHS. I haven't been able to watch that yet from you, man. What's on that?
It's on YouTube.
Yeah, it's a video.
Yeah, so it was a movie that I made of. It's like 4 songs that I wrote about New Jersey urban legends, and
right.
I made like 4 music videos to accompany all of them. But then there's like a story that goes in between it, so it's like somewhere in between music video and movie.
You're into the New Jersey urban legend shit.
Yeah,
right?
really big into it.
Hell yeah!
I think from like a young age, that was kind of my exploration of like just New Jersey. Was like, oh, I want to like go to, it's like a little kid reading Weird New Jersey, being like, I want to go to these towns. That started out as just like I wanted to kind of create something a little more 3-dimensional. So I wrote the songs and was like going to do this project, and then kind of bailed on the video for a little bit. But then Ghost Talk had like been like, oh, when are you like set a date for the premiere, and we could premiere it at the brewery. So I was like, fuck, I already have a date for this. So I spent that summer working on filming it all and editing it. It was fun.
Did you go to the places?
Yeah, for the most part.
Do you remember the 4?
Yeah.
Does it ruin it though?
No. The songs are about the Gates of Hell. I mean, I play these songs live too. The Gates of Hell, Clinton Road, the Jersey Devil, and the Passaic River.
Hell yeah.
So yeah, filming that project was a lot of fun, because it was like getting to go to those places with my friends as adults instead of like kids who are scared of them, Yeah. It was fun. I'll send you the YouTube link, because it is on YouTube. It's called The Legend of Louis. So it's basically like a story about the New Jersey Devil. If he was a guy named Louis. Lucifer, if you will.
I'll add it to the show notes.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I've been into that shit forever too. I have an EP named Heartbeat Road. You ever go to that one?
I've never been there, but I know about it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's by me, and I have a Jersey Devil song as well. I love that shit. You throw a lot of Jersey references into your work, and you know what? I've been really inspired by that. Like, in your own Jeffrey Lewis kind of way, like how he has, like, all those New York references and Scowling Crackhead Ian and East River and shit. I think it's cool.
It's fun. I don't know. I think it's just easier to write about what's around you than, like, create metaphors and try and do all these different things. So I just write about my life and the places I go to. It's easier that way.
Yeah. I think it might be. I haven't done too much of it, but like after listening to your shit, I'm kind of inspired to try to.
You should. I think it's more fun too. I don't know. I think it resonates with people a little more. I feel like write a song about a shopping mall in your town, and then your friends will be like, "Oh, I know this place."
I'd love to see a John Cozz pamphlet of songwriting ideas, because that's a good one. Write a song about a shopping mall in your town.
Yeah, I've been trying to get my cousin, who plays in my band, to write he has a whey protein allergy. It'll kill him, so he can't have any dairy at all.
Yeah.
I'm like, how have you never written a song about this? Like,
Yeah.
I don't know why he hasn't, and I've been trying to get him to for a long time. Well, he like half wrote one once and posted on my Facebook. But yeah, I don't know. Writing songs about like heartbreak or something like that is boring. Write a song about your whey protein allergy.
This is true, right? And that's one of the things that helps you become more prolific as a songwriter, because it does get drab to write about the same topics all the time, you know?
I mean, there are people, you know, who do it better.
Sure.
Write a heartbreak song. I mean, there's a difference between, like, saying I'm sad and explaining your depression, you know? Like, there's a way to do that, like, beautifully. And that's the difference between, like, a hobbyist and an expert is like somebody who could take what they're feeling and put it into words, as opposed to just saying I feel this way. I think that's like the next level of writing.
I think so. But also, you know, like you said, if you're not feeling depressed, it might be. I mean, I guess you're right.
Oh,
like,
well, I meant that
it's
about
like turning that on.
I meant that about like anything. That's the same thing could be said for happiness too. There's a difference between like I'm happy and I don't know. I can't think of any good happy lyric. I can't think of any lyrics off the top of my head, but
no, I know. I'm feeling like this is it, man. I'm feeling beat.
All right, yeah, I'm down to call it.
Yeah, we got to call it. But this has been real. I'm super pumped that you had come and taken the time to speak. We got to do it again.
Thanks for having me.
Hell yeah. Yeah, we'll be in touch, and I'll put links to all of your shit in the notes. But before that, why don't you give people like some places they can find you?
I'm on the internet, very easily searchable. JOHNCOZZ. Cozz Coffee. John Cozz. COZZ.
+1 to that.
+1.
I searched you on Google. It was very easy to find your shit.
I thought you were saying you got to add a 1. I was like, what?
No, not John Cozz 1. If you just search John Cozz, it's easy to find. But I'll put links in the notes too.
All right, cool.
Yeah, this has been awesome.
Thank you so much for having me. Have a good night.
Hell yeah. You too. I'm gonna hit stop.